Hi, everyone. I'm just waiting here for Janine to join me. I might go ahead and just invite her in a second way. Let's see, here we go. Okay. Hi, everyone. Thank you for being here. We're going to be talking about the bedroom today. I'm just waiting for Janine to pop in. Here she is. Hi.
Hi. Well, there you go.
It's great to see you. And just as a reminder, it's 10:30 in the morning where I am, and it's what, like 7 o'clock at night or 7:30 at night where you are?
7:30 p.m. Yes,
7:30 in Cape Town.
correct. Standard South African time. Yeah.
Well, it's
Mhm.
so good to see you. Normally, Janine and I like hop on and we get to say hi and catch up for a few minutes before, but today that didn't happen for whatever technical reasons, and so I'm extra happy right now.
Same this side. Great.
Yeah. Yeah, so we'll just jump right in there. I would love to hear, since you do such a great job of bridging architecture and design, I would just love to hear, like, when someone comes to you to design their home, like, what are some of the primary things, the first things that you consider in like like where you place their bedroom within the house, and just in general, like what are your primary like ethos with the bedroom?
So the bedroom has to be a sanctuary, so it's really important where you place it. And it's probably one of the most private spaces within your home. It's not open to everyone. It's really your sanctuary where you go to rejuvenate, to sleep, to do other things, but it's all private, pretty private. And I mean, I tend to almost have it as like a cocoon type nest, comforting area, not a huge area with additional lounge furniture and so on. So almost like a technology free zone where you just get to strip everything off, literally and figuratively, and have time to go and get a peaceful night's rest, to kind of almost like detox from like society, life, the day, all of that. So it's really important in terms of orientation. And it also depends whether it's a children's bedroom or whether it's an adult's bedroom, because those definitely have totally different roles in the house. So I think that's also really, really important to distinguish between adult and children bedrooms.
Yes, yes. And I love what you say about like like the stripping off, but like how we kind of want to have the bedroom hold, like be a cocoon where it
Yeah.
holds like the essence we are. And I know we already talked about the entry, but you just brought up a thought for me that how we approach our bedroom, like when we walk into our home, our entry is where we sort of like slough off all the things of our public life. And it feels like there is, whether it's just intention or physical, to have that same entry into our bedroom,
Yes.
right? To have like, whether it's just an intention or having, whether it's a small hallway or whatever, but having that cue that this is sacred space. This is
Yes.
about my restoration, my rejuvenation. This is about how I luxuriate in those things that are me when everything else is stripped away, right?
Totally, totally. So it's also really important the door entrance in relation to the rest of the room, and actually the door swing as well, and then where you position your bed. So I mean, in terms of being in the command position, I think it's really, really important in your bedroom to be able to see the bedroom door. So when you're lying in bed, that you are not facing it directly, but facing it like perpendicularly, and that the door swings open so that as the door cracks open, you can already see who's entering. you know, so you actually don't swing the door the other way around so that you kind of faced with an opening door and you don't know. So that's really, really important. And then also obviously natural light. But out of all the out of all the rooms in the house, I think adult bedrooms can be in kind of the worst daylight orientation. You know, because essentially what you want to be doing in your adult bedroom is mainly sleeping and mainly being there like nocturnally. So I wouldn't give the bedroom the prime orientation, but I would give children's bedrooms the prime orientation because they are often doing homework, they're often playing in the bedroom. So that's almost like a little extension of the lounge, you know, in that private children's realm. So that's what's really, really important. And that's a big distinction between kind of really giving children the prime orientation and really not giving the prime orientation to adult bedrooms, because obviously we can't face every single room to our prime orientation, you know, otherwise you'll end up with a long linear house, which, you know, also doesn't really make sense. So you have to compromise. And that's one thing where adult bedrooms, they really don't need prime natural orientation, but they do need enough natural light, or you can enhance it with artificial light. So the worst thing is that not to be able to get enough light in your bedroom when you want it, you know, but definitely enhance it with artificial light and clever artificial light. And you have such beautiful light fittings which bring in nature and the feeling of nature. So there's no compromise for kind of making it dark and dingy, but making it cozy and flexible.
Yes. So when you, just so that everyone's on the same page, because I know you and I speak this language. So when you're saying orientation of the bedroom, you're speaking of its position on the property in relationship to the four directions. So
correct.
Where is the sun coming in?
Yes.
Where is it facing south? Where is the western afternoon? I mean, I guess it depends on where you are, but so it's like, and so what I'm assuming when you say that is children want to be more in the like eastern and southern position, right?
Yes. I would say ideally the southern position if you're in the northern hemisphere, and ideally in the northern position if you're in the southern hemisphere. So they actually want the best midday light, you know, because in the mornings, I mean, the light, I would more say Eastern is for kitchens, waking up and getting that burst of energy. Whereas children, they kind of, I mean, depending on which age gap they're in, but, you know, if they can have the prime midday sun, that's perfect. Because they kind of awake, they possibly in their bedrooms. And again, I wouldn't make the bedrooms too big that they actually cocoon themselves in the bedroom and never take part in the rest of the family. But they do need a bit of privacy because they're becoming a little bit more independent. And they do need privacy for homework and studying and having friends over to have that little private realm, but also not that luxurious that they never leave the realm and come and take part in the family activities, you know? So there's like a fine balance.
Sorry, I had a cough, and so I'm like, and the other thing is that when you were talking about the commanding position of the bed, I just want to address that too, because the commanding position, and you can jump in if I miss something, but the commanding position, if you think of your bedroom as, excuse me. So if you think of your bedroom as being like a cave, and this is like, this is like the primal human, right? So we live in a cave. How would you orient your sleep position to protect yourself from intruders or saber-toothed tiger? And so you want to position yourself in a way that you can react. You have the most time to respond, and you can see what's
yourself. Yes.
Exactly. And so the commanding position in the bedroom would be the placement of the bed. So you're giving yourself enough time to respond, and you can see what's happening. And the same is true with any room in the home. But is that how you would explain the commanding position?
Yes, exactly. So that you're in control. And that's the thing. We're still very much wired in those primal needs. Although we think we're so sophisticated and so civilized, deep down, all of our kind of reactions are on a subconscious level still that primal need. So especially when you're looking at your office, and whether it's in a large office or a home office, it's also really important that you are facing the entrance, the main entrance into that space, you know, and there are ways of doing it. So obviously in an open plan office, you can't always do that. And we're now digressing, but you can put a little mirror to be able to see behind you, you know, if you're in an office situation. But when you're in a bedroom situation, it's usually, I mean, there are very few ways of not being able to get into command position. So basically your feet need to be facing the door so that when you're looking up, you can see the door, you know, so that is really important. But then also,
you don't want your feet going straight through the door, right?
no,
Because
that's what I was going to say. Yeah, so you don't want your feet mustn't face like the opening of the door. It needs to be perpendicular so that you, otherwise it's also kind of, it's too much energy rushing to your feet, you know, so that also is not that great, you know, so you need to be perpendicular to the door opening, and it needs to open towards the bed. Like the opening needs to crack open at the door, at the bedside. So yes, that's really important. And that is to soothe your primal subconscious, to put that at ease, you know, because obviously if that's already like anxious because of the placement of your bed, you know, then you're already kind of 2 steps behind. So obviously you want to have all the advantages possible when you are creating this beautiful sanctuary for you, for yourself.
yeah, and one thing that I want to touch on, just because we want the bedroom to be this place where we feel held and nurtured, and like for people that are in transition, like because we always find ourselves in transitions, right? Whether we're like living at someone else's house for a time, or if we're traveling or whatever, if we're in a bedroom that doesn't like reflect who we feel we are, and it doesn't feel as nurturing or as, you know, like luxurious as we want, it's like that's totally okay, right? So like what
Yeah.
would you say are some of like the primary things in just the basics of the bedroom? Like what would you say are sort of like the essentials?
Well, the essentials are obviously making sure that kind of you have a comfortable bed. I mean, like that's always like a primary concern. And then also to have the bed quite balanced, you know, so even if you're a single person, to have 2 bedside stands, to have them equal size and the same, you know, to also create some balance, you know, and inviting other relationships in if you want to. But always having that balance. I think that's really, really key, and making it as comfortable as you can. So, I mean, like I often like move furniture around, not so much the bed, but when I'm in a hotel, I like the pieces that are movable. I always end up moving around to make it more comfortable for my stay. And whether it's like a day or two, you know, to have my suitcase and my computer and all of that. And I mean, obviously in your home situation, it's really not ideal to have any of your electronics or television in that bedroom zone. So that should be a technology free zone, ideally.
I,
And it's obviously not so
I
easy.
it's the hardest thing to tell people, like, get the TV out of the bedroom. Like
Yes.
this is of entertainment. Like
Yeah.
it's not how we're
Yes.
supposed to be entertained. And I think it's like the one thing that I say that I know is so hard, and people don't want to hear, is like, do not be on your device
Yes.
first thing in the morning.
Yeah.
Not device before you
Mm.
go to bed, because what we take with us when we go into our slumber, it's like it's alive, and it wakes up with us, and how we're investing our time is how
Yeah.
we're investing what's coming into our life. And I find that those 2 windows of waking and drifting off to sleep are the most potent. So it's like if we want to
Yes.
invest in life, we want to look at our bedroom and everything happening in our bedroom, because it really, like, it is an investment. It's an investment, like you're saying, like, be comfortable, like saturate yourself with what you want, and be really mindful of what you're taking into your head space in the
It's
bedroom space.
it's all about priorities, you know, like is television the priority or is sleeping the priority? Is sex the priority or is sleeping the priority? You know, so is texting with someone else the priority, or is it being with the person that you're in your bedroom with? You know, so it's all about priorities. And the thing is, obviously, if the temptation's there to switch the TV on, then obviously it's much more difficult. But whereas if you just remove the TV, the option isn't really there, you know. So to try and make your life simpler and easier, and we have to make so many decisions throughout the day. So if you can make your bedroom just an easy, like, no-brainer, you're either sleeping or like enjoying yourself otherwise, but no technology, and you're not even tempted by it, you know.
Yeah.
I think, and the problem is the phone, that is the alarm and the this and the that and all of that. So, I mean, to get a separate alarm for waking up and stuff is really like much better, because obviously if you can wake up with the sun, that's like ideal. But if you need to wake up before the sun rises, then get an alarm which is not your phone, you know.
Yes.
And you still, you can still buy those.
Yeah. Yeah, I think a really easy, like, general rule of thumb is, and this is for the whole house, but what the intended function of the room is.
Totally.
Keep everything in the room aligned with the intended function of the room. And that, like, for the bedroom, the intended function is rejuvenation, restoration, sleep, procreation, and that's it. And if
Exactly.
it's not, right, if it doesn't fit in there, then just go find the room in the house where it fits that function.
Totally. And then when you leave that room, like, your mind, like, is switched to another function, you know. So your brain doesn't have to think, oh, is it now trying to sleep, is it trying to watch TV, is it trying to have dinner? So, like, I mean, obviously breakfast in bed is great, but kind of eating dinner in bed and all of that, it also starts like mixing up a little bit, you know. So it's just kind of making life easier for your brain, because it's just overloaded with information and choices nowadays. So just kind of give your brain a break, you know.
Yeah, and it's a great way, like, for people who have sleep issues, really, like, honing in on that function of sleep and being discerning about, okay, what's in the space? Is this conducive to sleep? What am I doing in space? Is this conducive to sleep? And you're right, like, those mental cues, we're gonna, like, you get to train your brain. Okay, this is the only thing we do in this room is sleep, rest, procreate, and that's like that function. And then eventually the mind is going to be like, okay, oh, we're in this room, it must be time for me to do these things.
Exactly. Yes, it's like muscle memory, you know. And then also, like, the color choices of the walls, you know, and your furniture and your soft furnishings. It's also really important to not necessarily have like bright reds and oranges, because that's all about activity. Or whereas you can get more
bunch of metal, like a bunch of sharp, like, metal, like that's like
whites and grays, you know, that's also like a bit more hectic. Whereas if you can do more wood and earthy colors, you know, it's kind of also more nurturing and allows for growth and rejuvenation and so on. So it really needs to be a comforting, nurturing space. So that's kind of the essence, you know.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think it is like the most important, like, for our well-being and for just our overall well-being. Like, the bedroom is kind of the most important room in the whole house.
Totally.
We don't, right? Like, if we're not sleeping well, nothing goes well.
Yes, and it's interesting. So it's probably one of the most important rooms in the house, yet it doesn't need to have the prime daylight orientation. You know, so just because it's the master or the mistress bedroom, it doesn't mean that it needs prime orientation. And I think that's also often a misconception, that main suite gets the prime and the largest space and stuff, and the children's bedrooms are smaller and they don't have the ideal orientation. So it's also like a little bit of a mental mind shift that you really understand on a practical level what the requirements are of your main adult bedroom.
You're so right. I'm so glad you said this. And I know we're pushing our 20 minutes, but I'm so glad you said that, because the most important things that happen in the bedroom are all internally based. They're not about our connection to other people or our
Yes.
connection to the world. And so it's okay for the bedroom to be like, to have that cocoon feel where you're still connected through windows to the outside world, but you're right, that's not the primary concern. That's not the primary.
Yes. Because it's mainly nighttime and it's all internal, you know, so the lounge, the kitchen, the dining, those are the spaces, and then the children's bedrooms. Those are the really important spaces for daylight orientation on your site.
I love that. Janine, I love talking with you.
Thanks. Same this side. Great.
So much. Thank you so much for joining these conversations with me. It's really fun.
Yes, no, totally. And then next week, are we doing the bathroom?
Yes. Next week will be the last one of this series, at least.
Yes.
And so time next Wednesday, and we're going to dive into the bathroom, and I think it's going to be really fun. I think it's going to be a little bit surprising to a lot of people. What shows up in the bathroom.
Totally.
All right.
Super.
Fun for being here.
Great, and thanks for watching, and thanks for inviting me, Kimberly. Really appreciate it. Keep well.
Have a beautiful week.
Thanks, you too.
Bye-bye.
Cheerio. Bye.